Today I thought we'd show just a little bit of some of the making of what seems to be a simple part that's not really a simple part. There are these, part of the brake system, the brake levers connecting from on the vehicle itself. So these are a little complicated to see these photos, but I've made the linkage for the brakes, and now we've got the covered linkage, which are leather covered on the real car, and they have these clamps on both ends. On the mechanism itself, and then onto the back of the brake. So I've got to simulate those, and trying to do that with materials and something that's going to stay in place. So I've got these two that are made here. They appear to be pretty simple, but they're not. They were made from multiple pieces of styrene, which I then carved and shaped, added some wires, some epoxy, shaping further, and then multiple layers of primer and then the black paint. So that's on them, and we've got the seams and the folds put in. Also, what I've had to do, which I don't know if you can see very well, but these are angled also, and they're angled differently at the ends, and they're wider at one end and narrower at the other in terms of how they've got to fit. So I'm just going to show an approximation as to where they go. They're going to go in between the back of the brake, which there it has a mount there, and there's the mount there. They're going to go in approximately like they're going to go in further in here. But I'm obviously not mounting them this moment to show you, but you'll see it later on when it's completed. But going back to these, now I've got part of the clamps already on there, as you see, simulating the brass clamp that's on the real thing. What I do is I have a box of foil from wine. I have the old lead foil, and I have the newer aluminum foil, and so I went for one of the gold colors that I had in there, which had many pieces. So I took one out, cut it down, did a quickie with a straight edge after taping down, and this was one of the strips that I got, so we cut off to make that, and then that gets wrapped around and then cut and glued. You do one at a time. It's a little bit tedious. Then on top of that, with these clamps on the real car, there is a wire that goes to tighten, to hold on to the clamps, that goes in between, and there are screws, etc., that just pulls it tight. I'm not using the right terminology, but so what. So we've got that. Let me just show you one that I've started with using 10,000th wire. I've got wire in all different gauges and fairly thin, and that's actually, I have something that's a little thinner than that, but that works pretty well. And cutting a piece of that, and then you do a quick wrap around. These are made for making round components. Take it off, flatten it out, and then I do a test fit on there, and then I cut it approximately, which is what I did on this one. As it doesn't get cut all the way, it's now got it's tacked on with a little bit of glue. It'll get some more glue, and I have to have it, I don't want it closing all the way, because in between I've got to simulate where the screws go for the tightening on the real one. So that's going to be done with some little tiny rivets that simulate the screws. Those are going to be cut to length because they're a little too long, and then these washers too are going to be all part of the mounts. And those washers, as you can see, are pretty tiny, because that's a toothpick right next to all those pieces. They get put on one at a time, and it's very tedious work. So after that, I think I'll be opening another few bottles of wine, and I'll have some more foil for my little box of foil. And that's it. You'll get to see this when these are on next. Thanks.